Good afternoon. I'm Joep Skaag. I'm here at KubeCon EU in beautiful Amsterdam. And I'm joined today by Venkat. He is the VP of Products and Engineering at Portworx. Venkat, welcome to the show. I wanted to start with a question around what's interesting with KubeCon this week. What have you seen? What do you think is the state of the industry right now?
Absolutely. First of all, I'm so happy to be here, and we have worked together for so long. Hey, I'm happy to be in your hometown.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, we have always met in the Valley in other KubeCons, but KubeCon Amsterdam, and here I am, and it's so good to be here. And as you said, it's a beautiful city, right? Isn't it? I mean, it's just an amazing city, right?
Yeah.
Talking about it, right? You're telling me that. You actually from here, but you don't actually live in Amsterdam. You live a couple of hours from Amsterdam, and live in Dutch countryside. Probably really beautiful, right? Not probably, is really beautiful. It's all about quality of life, isn't it? Right? I mean, it's all about we're all doing a lot of great stuff. You're building. You're working with amazing companies. You're advising them. You're analyzing them, and evangelizing them. And we're at KubeCon, and we just spoke to a lot of our counterparts and colleagues and community members who are actually building really great stuff, right? And they're building great stuff. They're helping other people building amazing applications and delivering great customer experience. Again, driving that quality of life higher.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, and I like that angle because I used to be in operations. I used to be in infrastructure. And the amount of time I had to spend on engineering solutions and working through the toil was, a fun engineering challenge, but B, also something that kind of kept me away from delivering business value. And looking at KubeCon, I think the interesting realization I had this week is we've progressed from figuring out how all of this works into a steady state. I think Kubernetes, while still complex, is commoditizing and it's being simplified, meaning we can now focus on so much more than just the infrastructure, so much more than just the platform itself and delivering business value and helping use cases, enable use cases at customers. Yeah. So what are kind of the use cases that Portworx is going after right now that kind of tell that story of simplifying and moving up the stack and delivering more business value more quickly?
Yeah. I mean, you made a great point, right? I mean, we are no longer figuring things out. It's a steady state, and it is kind of attaining scale and maturity. Where, really there are some phenomenal use cases that customers are able to do with Kubernetes at scale, right? I mean, we have, large automotive companies that are running their entire back office infrastructure, plus their factories that are all on Kubernetes and Portworx today, right? We have large banks and large credit card companies doing cyber analytics and fraud detection on very large Kubernetes clusters and Portworx, as well as Kubernetes and different distros of Kubernetes. We have large pharmaceutical companies that are running on the cloud and kind of like doing medical research, drug research, kind of analysis and everything on, again, the Kubernetes cloud platform of their choice and Portworx. So the use cases and the customer use of Kubernetes has evolved significantly and is continuing to grow at a mind-boggling pace. And you mentioned something which is, I'm a little curious, and I may have to push back a little bit as well. I agree, Kubernetes is a little bit of, it is perceived as complex, but it's actually very simple, right? Because Kubernetes tries to be, it aspires to be a platform, and all of this infrastructure runs on Portworx and Kubernetes, right? Now, when they ship docs, it actually transfers the information into their cloud deployments, where obviously a whole bunch of install base and your customer analytics happens. So they continue to improve their passenger experience with that. So imagine, look at this use case. It's like there's disconnected clusters running everywhere. They dock and they ship off the data, and there is a companion cluster that runs all the analytics and feeds the data back into these ships. And it goes on and on, right? I mean, that's a phenomenal edge application that connects to the core. And we have a ton of 5G and Kubernetes deployments in 5G, and a lot of telcos running 5G deployments and at the edge and RAN networks. and of course, 5G deployments in core. So it has come a significant way from attacking multiple different use cases.
But I wonder what are the next steps? Like, we know organizations are going to go from VMs to containers, but what are some of those next steps that they take?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I like what you said, right? Yes, there's some of these are cool use cases, but, in reality, yeah, there's a ton of cool use cases, but there's a lot more of not boring, but, like the regular use cases that all needs to be addressed, right? And I would say Kubernetes is mainstream in that cases, but you're right. Not all applications are running on containers today, and applications, software development has inertia, right? It's like, it's one thing to build and run an app. It's another to continue to tinker with it and then refactor it and rewrite it. There's a lot of effort there. And, and developers are, I'm a developer. I used to be a developer. But developers are, I'm sorry to say this, they don't want to keep rewriting code. They want to write new code, right? So there is definitely that inertia that happens. But what Kubernetes delivers is, because it's a platform, it enables customers to now run, their platform infrastructure or their application infrastructure in truly self-service mode without having to, spend a lot of money or, staff up a large team. Especially in these economic times, it's extremely critical. You don't have to staff up a large team. So, they kind of manage a lot of applications at the lower cost. So there's definitely a lot of push to go to Kubernetes. But we do see customers have like a fragmented deployment sometimes. A bunch of their apps are still in VMs. A bunch of their apps are refactored, or new apps are running in Kubernetes. So one of the big trends we are seeing is that the kind of a shift towards KubeVirt-based deployments, where people are unifying their VM and container deployments into Kubernetes, and there are multiple good choices there.
And I think being able to offer that specifically as a self-service on-demand feature to developers is great. But you offer a solution in this space, yes, obviously, right? So PDS, and I think it's a great way of removing that friction, especially now that we're seeing kind of the market and the relevance of Kubernetes, not just being for the bigger enterprises, but also mid-market, smaller companies, maybe with people with less expertise in the Kubernetes field, or maybe even the database field, and offering them a solution for this problem to make databases happen automatically and magically. I think it's a great way. But I wonder, do customers use it in this way? Do you see success with this approach?
Yes. So actually, there's a couple of things I want to highlight here, and we'll start with the PDS question a little bit, right? So we looked at, as we continue to start working with customers for a long time, since kind of sort of closer to the inception of Kubernetes to where we are today. First of all, there was a lot of debate about, can databases run in Kubernetes? Our answer has always been absolutely yes. Our question is not like, can, it's like, why not? Why not databases not run in Kubernetes, right? And, we have seen databases running in Kubernetes all the way from 2015, 2016, when Kubernetes, was kind of an early inception, even like an early production days in 2017. We have always, databases was one of our top use cases we supported, although there was like this raging debate that went on in the industry about should databases run in Kubernetes or not, right? So today, I think it's not like it's not even a question. We have a ton of customers running hundreds of thousands of databases on Kubernetes and on Portworx today, right? But what we observed was there is a slight dichotomy in the industry, right? Where the DBAs are busy designing databases and managing them, and and optimizing them, and for their application owners. And the platform teams are busy running a large platform infrastructure, keeping that up to date, making sure all the guardrails are met, making sure they're offering this for different application teams, bringing them together. And that's a complex job.
And I like you meeting the customer where they are, instead of having the customer having to come to you.
Yes.
And I think that shows the true value of a platform.
Yes.
Is offering different entry points, having solutions for different problems that helps customers wherever they are on their journey to take that first step, whatever it is. Maybe it's databases, maybe it's cloud migration, maybe it's data protection or DR. And I like that you have that, enablement first step.
Yeah.
And then you can offer them the whole platform because, in this sense, in this infrastructural sense, customers will really want the same things in a general sense. They still want data protection. They still want a storage platform. They still want to be able to self-serve databases. And I think that's a beautiful way of getting a customer to accelerate their journey as they go to cloud, as they go to microservices, as they adopt Kubernetes, because that's what we're talking about. But having a solution for every problem out there is I think, the right way to go.
Exactly. And so that, again, that's absolutely, you nailed it, right? I mean, and this is where, Portworx actually is more of a platform that has distinct services built into it, right? So you can, as a customer, consume individual service, like to start with where you're in the journey, right? I mean, you could be a customer that is, running a lot of mission critical, data intensive apps. And, it could be real-time analytics. It could be databases. It could be, Jenkins CI/CD, Git kind of GitOps kind of infrastructure. If you really look at, like a tech use cases, right? I mean, and, you use Portworx Enterprise for that, right? Like you're a financial services customer, now you want to make sure you meet your regulatory and compliance requirements. Then you extend Portworx Enterprise with Portworx DR, right? I mean, but then, you're not only running these data intensive apps, then you actually are, running other what you kind of perceivedly stateless apps, like where you have a whole bunch of Kubernetes objects and service bindings, and and you have to kind of make sure they're constantly saved, and you want to make sure you give your application owners an ability to back up their work, so you're not on the hook for like, oh, what happened to my data an hour ago? Like, oh, I don't know. That's why I'm going to give you this, an ability to back it up yourself on the RPO metrics that you desire, right? So that's why we created the backup product, where it's essentially a backup service that is self-service, that you can onboard your application teams, any number of application teams. You can onboard your platform teams, and you basically tell your application teams, you have access to your namespace, and here is a backup service. It's, and you have all kinds of RPO settings you can enable. You can set up policies and schedules, backup away. And, when something goes wrong, you can restore back to where you were, including all of your Kubernetes objects. I mean, that eases the pain significantly, right?
And it solves a different problem too, which I have run into so many times, where, it's not just about the backup, it's also about data management, and specifically data copy management.
Yeah.
So having a copy of your app that is running in production, restored to a dev test, either for development or testing and upgrade, lifecycle management, and it gives that, that ability to accelerate the lifecycle management and the development of applications. And this used to not be a thing. We couldn't do it. It was too hard. But with solutions like this, especially because of the self-service aspect, I think we can enable, something very unsexy, at least it was in the past, to be something that is actually useful for the development population, for those people.
Yeah.
To do the lifecycle management, to do the upgrades.
Yeah.
And I think that's, again, it speaks to you're not delivering just a feature, you're actually delivering a platform.
Exactly. And with the data services, it completes the platform, right? I mean, now, there's curated set of data services that we have curated. We give templatized, deployment and management, and we manage the day two of these data services, so you don't have to manage them. And suddenly we have taken about 99.9% of the pain in operating the large-scale infrastructures. And for the mid and small range companies, now they don't have to staff a large team, and they can actually grow their infrastructure, grow their business, and then follow through with as much headcount and infrastructure as needed, because Portworx helps them manage them, all of them in pretty much an autonomous manner, right? So that is kind of the platform vision, where it's a true platform. It has distinct services. And we have some ambitious goals to add some really, differentiated services there as well. And you'll see a whole bunch of them in the next, over the next 12 to 18 months, and continues to evolve with the use case. But overall, I look at this as like a G Suite for Kubernetes, right? I mean, it's like, you buy a G Suite subscription, you're not buying a Gmail subscription. You usually you go and say, here's my G Suite subscription, and you can use Mail, Slides, and Sheets, and it's the same thing, right? You get a Portworx platform subscription, and you end up using the different services, and with that, right? And so for us, it helps us deliver different capabilities and mix and match them, right? I mean, for example, Portworx Data Services natively integrates with Portworx Backup, so our data services customers get application consistent backups off the shelf. They don't have to think about it, right? It's all integrated, right? And the Portworx Enterprise customers get Portworx DR and Portworx Backup natively integrated, right? And of course, Portworx Data Services is built on top of Portworx Enterprise, so they get all the benefits automatically. So these services interplay with each other, and together they deliver a unique user experience that no one else can deliver. At the same time, individually, they kind of meet the customers where they are in their journey, and then grow with that as a platform, right? That is to me, that's an exciting thing to do, is because we have something that can plug into where the customers are and help grow with them and kind of meet all their needs. To be honest with you, that's why I'm so excited to be at Portworx. It's my 7th year in Portworx. It feels like day one for me, right? It's absolutely phenomenal. The story and what we are able to deliver for our customers and what they're achieving with the technology. Having a front row seat, that makes my day every day.
Wow. So let's end on that high note. It's been great to have you here. It's been great to see how far Portworx has come and what it's enabling for customers. I'm super excited to see what's happening in the next couple of months. I'm going to keep a close watch on you. And in about a half a year, we'll see the new additions to the portfolio and to the platform. And until now, thank you all for watching. I'm Yupiskar. I've been joined by Venkat here on the show, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.